Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's FPC Radio Live. It's Friday, December the 2nd, 2022, and getting ready to wrap up this week here. And last night, if you're a Patriots fan, it was, well, disappointing to say the least, John. And to let you all into a little bit of my my personal life, I have my wisdom teeth coming out today, and let me tell you, I'm actually looking forward to that. Considering what last night, because last night was painful, and I don't think anything's going to compare to that pain. That was just so. It was just, I don't know. You know when you were younger, and your parents weren't mad at you; they were disappointed. That's kind of what I feel like with the Patriots right now.
Yeah, I mean, they just played a better team, right? I mean, Buffalo is better on both sides of the ball. They're championship driven, and the Patriots now are 6-6.
It's more than that. Yeah, Buffalo's a better team, but the Patriots were unprepared, sloppy, lazy, everything you don't expect a Bill Belichick coach team to be. And coming off, again, a loss, there's no moral victories, but that loss against Minnesota, they did so many things right, especially on offense, where you're like, wow, okay. And obviously they're playing a better defense in Buffalo. I get that, no doubt about it. But no Von Miller, no Micah Hyde. And you don't take advantage of it. And it felt like they were just completely overmatched, and they shouldn't be. Yeah, they're the inferior team compared to the Bills right now, but that should have been competitive, and it never really felt like it was.
Detroit was much more competitive with Buffalo on Thanksgiving. Heck, you can make a case that Cleveland was more competitive against Buffalo 4 days before that. And here are the Patriots, divisional game at home, Thursday night, national TV, the whole bit. And it just felt like a 2-hour and 45-minute slog, right? Like they never felt like they were in the game. They did get up 7-3, but then at that point, Buffalo took control. And the second half was just like, when is this thing going to end?
Yeah, and yeah, trust me, I felt the same way. That's what my reference to the pain. But no, it was just, you watch, they get that opportunity at the end of the half. You get the turnover. Great play by Uche to create the turnover, get Josh Allen from behind. And then it's like Kevin from The Office with his chili. You just fumble the big bowl and it just spills all over the place. I mean, I can't think of a better analogy, but I mean, they did everything in their power to screw up every opportunity that they had. And, again, the offensive play calling, the preparation, it just doesn't seem there. I think it's hard to I can't put too much, or let's just put it this way. There's a lot of blame to be passed around to everyone on that offense, but I don't know. I feel like fortunately for Mac Jones, he's not getting a good shake here. He can play better, and he seemed to be the first one to admit that. But I don't think they're doing him any favors in his development right now. It seems to be one step forward and then like 3 steps back, because that's all we've seen from this team the last 2 years, especially this year.
Seems like a lot of steps back. I mean, it looked at sometimes like he was trying to try out for the role of the lead actor in the Fran Tarkenton story. I mean, there were times where he'd go back to pass and he was just spinning and going backwards 20 yards. And that's not his game. He's a timing and rhythm type passer. That's not what he is. The offensive line is not good, not comfortable, obviously, in the offense. And when a quarterback's not comfortable, then, their mind is racing. He's being sped up. Doesn't appear that there's a lot of marrying of routes, right? Like you just see 3 guys go out, and it doesn't seem like they're working to get someone open. No one's open. The offensive line isn't giving him time. They can run the football somewhat effectively, but look, when you're down 17-7, how much can you run the football?
Yeah, and that's the issue that we're seeing. There's no offensive rhythm, and like I think this offense has talent on it, right? Or maybe I've convinced myself. I mean, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, I see them in the open, or Jonnu Smith in the open field sometimes, and it's like, wow, okay, this guy can run. But then it's like, where did they go? What happened? You know what I mean? Like it feels like they should be better. Maybe it's just
without question. Yeah, I mean, well, I think you look at from last year to this year, You would think that Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith would be better in their second year. You think that Nelson Aguilar and any other players that they have.
Sadly, I think
Kendrick
Jonnu
Bourne
Smith
should be better.
has actually been better, but the bar
He may
was
be
so
the only
low.
one. Right, yeah.
But the bar was so low that it's relative.
Right.
It's really still feels underperforming.
Yeah. I mean, look, they're first in the league in spending on tight ends with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. They're third or fourth in spending on wide receivers with Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne and Devontae Parker. And, Jacoby Myers is the guy that's a bargain and is their best wide receiver. So it's not like they didn't put capital into that. They spent a first-round pick on an offensive lineman. I think this goes back to coaching. You've got Matt Patricia as your offensive line coach and your offensive play caller. I mean, offensive line coach, Ian, is probably the most important positional coach on a football team. Not the entire unit. Offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, obviously the most important two assistant coaches you can have. But the offensive line, to me, is like the bullpen in baseball. That better be buttoned up and solid. And the less you notice it, the better. And it's just been a disaster this year. And you're also having him as a play caller. You don't see that in the NFL where the offensive line coach is also the play caller. And oh, by the way, he's never done this, or at least the last time he was somewhat involved in the offensive side of the ball was 17 years ago with Dante Scarnecchi's assistant when he was, 30 years old. So there's some issues there. You went from Josh McDaniels, a good offensive coordinator, to a novice, and I don't think Mac Jones has bought into it, and you can see the results have just been really, really bad. Just kind of leads me to believe is how bad is Minnesota's defense? That Minnesota allowed the Patriots to go up and down the field and score 26 points, because the other recent games, you had 10 against Buffalo, you had 10 against the Jets, and that was on a punt return at the end of the game to win that game. So that their offense has been pretty bad the last month and a half, other than that Minnesota game.
But that's kind of been their MO though the last year and a half.
Right.
It's like they have like a few mediocre games and then they explode on offense, and you're like, oh my god, here we go. Maybe they figured it out, and then, like I said, they take 3 steps back, and you're just kind of all right. They're 6-6. They're still in the hunt, but you really have to go. Maybe lose one more game, but even then, I think that's a stretch because of kind of where the AFC is right now. So I don't know, John. I think there's just so much blame to go around that I can't pinpoint it on one person or one group. I do think there's obviously a lot of criticism, rightfully deserved, towards the offensive game planning and calling and everything like that. And is that experiment going to end quickly? I don't know. Maybe the Patriots need it to end for the sake of Mac Jones' development. And again, it's disappointing because I think the assumption is, or the feeling is that this team is capable of competing with just about anyone on the field, and we've seen that in spurts. Like it wasn't too long ago that they were leading the division in December last year. And then it just kind of all fell apart. And since then, it's just been kind of just, again, regressing a bit. There hasn't been much progress this year. And when it felt like there was progress, that was just kind of fool's gold. So disappointing.
Yeah, since that win up in Buffalo in December, they're 7-10. And that represents a full season. 7-10 gets you in last place.
That's 2020. That's 2020 all over again. They were 7-9.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep, exactly.
And that was a year that we were willing to give a mulligan. The first year post Tom Brady, just in a transition, you're like, all right, the team wasn't good, but the opt-outs, okay, you can deal with that. There's no reason for this team to be 7-10 in a full season stretch now, because they have talent across the board. They have talent on offense. They have talent on defense. They just haven't been able to put it together. So,
Yep.
As I mentioned before, I unfortunately have to get some dentist work done today. So we're going to jump right into our picks for the week, because I need as much time between now and then to, wallow in my self-pity and try to get people to feel bad for me that I'm going to go through so much pain. But like I said, fortunately, this game last night kind of, toughened me up a little bit. It's hard to imagine that type of pain again. But so anyways.
You're a hockey player. You'll get through
this. Well, I was a goalie. I didn't lose any teeth, so. Except for today. I'm losing my first tooth today. I've had my full complement of teeth my entire life, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to say goodbye to one of them. But good riddance, because if you see me outside of just doing this program the last couple of days, it's been absolutely miserable. So
Mhm.
a lot of ice packs to the jaw and just laying completely still on the couch and just wishing I could fall asleep for 12 hours. So, anyways, all right, let's get right into it. We have a pretty full slate this Sunday. A nice set of games, some very intriguing matchups. Obviously, one of the storylines going into this week is the debut of Deshaun Watson with the Cleveland Browns. So we're going to see how that experiment goes. But we are going to start with the Washington Commanders at the New York Giants, and I went with the Commanders in this one. I mean, there's less and less reason to not believe in this team because you keep seeing them win games, and I think, unfortunately for the Giants, I think they're headed in the opposite direction. Not a free fall, but we've talked about this before. I think maybe they're a year too early in their development, so I think they kind of fizzled out a little bit. It's not a bad thing. I think this is just part of. I think they're going to be better next year. Let's just put it that way. Right now, though, I think Washington's on a little bit of a roll, and I think they're going to take advantage of that. So give me the Commanders.
I'll just go with the Giants. This does look like a toss-up. The game is in New Jersey, divisional rivals. Washington's been really playing well, but they've won a lot of close games, and sometimes, you go to the next week and you don't win that close game. So I'll go with the Giants, but this is literally looks like a 3-point game either way.
Next, we have the Jets heading to Minnesota. Obviously, the Vikings coming off the big win over the Patriots, and we were talking about their defense. I like Minnesota at home here. I think they bounce back from a shaky performance on defense against the Patriots, and I think they do pretty well against the Jets, even though Mike White is, I think, a bit of an upgrade over the quarterbacks that they've been using so far in New York. So give me Minnesota to and look, I think they taste blood in the water. NFC North title is there for the taking. So, I think Minnesota is going to take one step closer to clinching that whole race in early December. So give me the Vikings.
I'll go with the Jets only because I think Quinnen Williams will put pressure on Kirk Cousins, and he doesn't do well with that. And also, if they man up Sauce Gardner on Justin Jefferson, that's going to be an interesting matchup. That doesn't always been the case with the Jets. They generally play Sauce Gardner on one side of the field, so he'll match up with Justin Jefferson at some point. But the Jets defense is legit, and again, Mike White is one of those guys that can throw 3 touchdown passes and then the next week throw 4 interceptions. But I'll go with the Jets only because they played really well against the NFC North. They already beat Chicago and Green Bay handily, so I think they can beat Minnesota in Minnesota.
Next, we have Tennessee at Philadelphia, and this is an interesting one. I kind of went back and forth with this. I think had these two teams met a week ago when Philadelphia was coming off a couple shaky games, I think I would have gone with Tennessee because I think they're a team that could really take advantage of that. I think they're going to play Philadelphia pretty tough. This is not going to be a blowout. This is going to be a pretty close game, and potentially, John, a very sneaky Super Bowl preview, perhaps, if Tennessee can really get on a roll. But I do like Philadelphia in this one. I think we're going to get a really good football game between these two teams, but Tennessee's going to give them a good fight.
I think so. I mean, Mike Vrabel always has his team ready. I guarantee you Philadelphia will not run for 363 yards on the ground like they did last week against Green Bay. Mike Vrabel, I'm sure, is better prepared and has his team better prepared than Green Bay did last week, but I like Philadelphia. They seem to got that loss out of their system against Washington and kind of stole one in Indianapolis and then looked impressive against the Packers. So I'll go with Philly in this matchup.
And that's important. Look, I mean, that's great teams go through those stretches.
Sure.
And like I said, if fortunately, and I can't believe I'm saying that, fortunately, they got the Packers and not the Titans in that third week, because I do think the Titans, you're playing a little bit on edge, if you're the Eagles coming into that game. And I think the Titans could have absolutely taken advantage of that because of their coach and how they game plan. And of course, the personnel. So they have the people to do it. So anyways, we have Jacksonville at Detroit next for I like Jacksonville in this one. Big come from behind win for Trevor Lawrence and the Jags last week. I've been liking what he's been doing a little bit more and more. I just kind of, early on, you're like, has he kind of plateaued a little bit? But the last few weeks, he's starting to look more and more like that uber talented first overall pick. So I do like him in this game, but I think this might be one of those weird, funky, somewhat high scoring games. So give me Jacksonville on that one.
Yeah, this has like a chance of being like one of the more exciting games of the weekend, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, a high scoring game. You got two teams that are out of it, but they're playing hard and they can put points on the board. I'll go with you on this one, Ian. I think Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence seems to be getting better every week. Doug Peterson's a good coach for an offense. And I'll go with them in probably another game that's going to be decided by a field goal, like a 34-31 type game.
Yeah, that would be fun. Denver at Baltimore. Luckily for Baltimore, they get the Denver Broncos because I think Baltimore is teetering right now. I think that we've always felt their defense was very shaky, which is strange to say about a Baltimore team, but their secondary has been just bad the last couple of seasons. And the offense hasn't been as potent and hasn't been as, good. And that's partly part of Lamar Jackson's struggles the last few weeks. And I think they're going to be fortunate to get the Broncos, though, because of, as much as the Ravens have struggled, the Broncos have obviously had their own. And I think Baltimore will get back on track a little bit. And unfortunately for the Bengals, if they don't beat Kansas City later in the day, that tie in the division might go away, blink of an eye. So I like Baltimore in this one, but like I said, it's more or less because they're playing Denver, and I like picking against Denver.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on this, Ian. I like Baltimore in this matchup. You got two quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson has really struggled the last few weeks. He's fighting with people on Twitter. You got Russell Wilson, his significant other's throwing a birthday party, and only like 40% of the team shows up for it. So, and I'm sure Lamar Jackson's going to look across at the sideline, across at the field, and say, "Man, that guy's already got a $250 million contract, and he can't move his offense. What about me?" But I think Baltimore at home will find a way to win.
Next, we have Pittsburgh at Atlanta. I took Pittsburgh. It's just a coin toss. Two teams that are just obviously going nowhere right now. They're looking ahead to next season. That's fine. I mean, these teams aren't. I don't think they're in disaster mode like some of these other teams, but they're certainly not good. But I'll give Pittsburgh the edge because again, their defense is obviously playing better with TJ Watt, and that's a huge advantage for them against any team really. So when push comes to shove, take the best unit. In this case, the best unit is the Pittsburgh defense.
I'll take Atlanta. They're at home. Pittsburgh had a short week playing Indianapolis on Monday night, and then having a short week to go to Atlanta this week. So I'll take the Falcons.
All right, next. Your guy, Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay, should be playing this weekend. Of course he's going to be playing against Chicago. He's not going to miss that. The Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers tied top the NFL with 786 wins apiece.
Ooh.
Yes. Big implications. We were talking about the media was talking about the Packers overtaking the Bears early in the season, back before we realized the Packers weren't really a good team. And we're like, well, of course they are. Well, it's been kind of funny to watch how they haven't seized that opportunity yet. And it's 7-8 weeks later. I do like Green Bay in this because, who am I going to pick the Packers or the Bears over the Packers? You know what I mean? I don't care. I don't care how bad the Packers are. They're going to beat the Bears, certainly without, either without Justin Fields or with a backup Justin Fields. I like the Packers in this one.
I'm going to take Chicago in this one. I think they're tired of hearing that Aaron Rodgers owns them, and also Justin Fields apparently is going to play. If Jalen Hurts was running freely last Sunday night,
that's true.
Justin Fields is even a better runner than Jalen Hurts. He may top 200 yards rushing in this game because I don't see how Green Bay makes any adjustments. They just don't. They just kind of roll things out there and hope that you have an off day. So I'll call for the upset here. I'll go with Chicago.
All right. Next, we have the I don't know. I was trying to come up with a snappy name for this. I don't want to call it the Watson Bowl, but I don't know. Either way, it's Deshaun Watson making his debut against his former team, the Houston Texans, and I feel like this is an obvious upset pick, right? I know, Deshaun Watson's coming back. He's playing against his former team. I think it's obvious Houston's going to win this game. I don't know why. They're not a good team, but I just think they're going to come out and look. I think the organization is going to be motivated to beat their former quarterback, rightfully so. And I think Cleveland is not a team that I trust to handle big moments like this. If it were the Patriots, it's one thing, because the Patriots of old. Let's maybe not last night's Patriots. But you know what I'm saying? Like the Patriots of old, any sort of distraction, you're just like, okay, they can compartmentalize and make sure they're focused on the game. I don't think Cleveland's capable of doing that. I think they're going to get too, I don't know, not like into the hype, but I think just mentally they're not going to be prepared enough. And I think this is an obvious choice for an upset. So give me Houston at home.
I'll take Cleveland only because I think Cleveland runs the football really effectively and Houston can't stop the run. So just from that X and O matchup, I'll take the Cleveland Browns.
But see, I don't think Cleveland's smart enough to do that.
True.
I think they're going to be right. Like, well, it's Deshaun Watson. It's his debut. We're going to give him the ball. And I think
let's show him off.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, next we have Seattle at the Rams. I got Seattle. I mean, I don't think there's any other reason to put too much thought into why I picked this matchup. I think the Rams are just bad. And without Aaron Donald, it's going to get even worse. So give me Seattle in this one.
Yeah, Seattle. They're still right there in the NFC West. They're one of the leading contenders for the wild card as well. So, yeah, we'll go with Seattle.
All right. Next, the Mike McDaniel. All right. So a little clip of him. Clock. Here's the thing, John. He's either going to be one of the best coaches in the league, and rightfully so, or all this antic stuff is going to flame out quicker than Sean McVay. It's one or the other, John. I think, like, I've been kind of hard. I think he's I think he's a smart guy. Like his, discussing, about who's better, talking about how to put players in I like that. That's right out of the Bill Belichick, put players in the best position to succeed, not, try to force them into something that they're not going to. I like that. And I think that's a great philosophy. The Dolphins team is uber talented. So again, I'm hesitant to elevate him like people used to elevate Sean McVay, because I think that's what happened early. It was like, yes, he took him to a Super Bowl, but let's be honest, that Rams team was chock full of talent, and they've kind of gotten their own way and prevented themselves from winning before this. So I was kind of like, all right, let's pump the brakes before we call this guy a genius. I do think Mike McDaniel is going to be a pretty good coach. I've kind of softened up my criticism because I was, getting a little tired of the, all the media hype around it, But I have watched it play out, and it's like it's hard not to criticize. It's hard to find criticism of what he's done so far. So for the time being, he's got to be given the benefit of the doubt. And in this game, this is going to be a big one. Unfortunately for the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey is a little banged up. And that's the big concern with bringing in Christian McCaffrey. Now, this just could be something minor, or it could be something where you're like, he's going to end up not playing the rest of the season. You're like, oh, crap. Now what do the 49ers do? So I think Miami wins this one on the road. And what you could probably – I don't know if you want to – would it be an upset? Because here's an example of a team where Miami has the better record. But – you can make an argument that San Francisco, and I think we might both agree that San Francisco is the better team, correct? Fully healthy.
Especially on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah,
of course.
I mean, they have a legit defense. Miami's defense, we don't really know. They haven't been in many competitive games the last month and a half. Their offense is explosive. San Francisco's offense is pretty darn good as well, especially with McCaffrey. So he's a question mark. But yeah, San Francisco's defense is significantly better than Miami's.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna take Miami. Like I said, I think this is gonna be hopefully one of those game of the year type games. I hope Christian McCaffrey plays though. That's it would be very disappointing. I mean, obviously he needs to be healthy for the playoffs, but I'd be very disappointed if he's not out there, because that would take a little bit of the buzz away from it.
Yeah, and I just think San Francisco's defense is so good that they'll limit Miami to the point where San Francisco's offense, which really struggled last week, they beat the Saints 13-0. It's like they spent half the game inside the red zone and couldn't quite get anything done. But I think that San Francisco at home, they're on such a roll. I'm going to go with the 49ers in this game.
All right, next, Kansas City at Cincinnati. And, rematch, obviously, of last year's AFC Championship game. The Chiefs and Bengals both coming off wins. I'm going to go with the Bengals on this one. At home, I think both of these teams are one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the AFC. Right there with Buffalo, I think they're kind of getting their groove back a little bit. I don't know. I like Cincinnati in this one. I think they're one of the few teams that aren't going to be intimidated, so to speak, with the Chiefs offense. We saw this for years with Brady and the Patriots, where teams would hype themselves up too much. You know what I mean? And force themselves to be, and that was part of the greatness of the Patriots offense, was forcing other teams into mistakes. And the Chiefs do the same exact thing. I don't think the Bengals are a team that's going to do that. And I also think they have a guy on the other side of the football in Joe Burrow, who happens to be getting Jamar Chase back this week too, that can go toe-to-toe. So I like Cincinnati in this one, just because, again, they're at home. And perhaps, they're going to get up for this game a little bit more than the Chiefs. So give me the Bengals.
I'll go with the Bengals. It's a bigger game for them in a sense that they're even right now with Baltimore for the division. Kansas City is going to win the West, although Kansas City has to stay a game ahead of Buffalo to try to secure the number 1 seed, because Buffalo holds the tiebreaker over Kansas City. So, it's not as if Kansas City is going to take this game lightly. I'll take Cincinnati at home. The Bengals have won 7 out of their last 9 in that 9-game stretch. Burrow's playing like an MVP candidate. His numbers are as good, if not better, than Patrick Mahomes over the last 9 weeks. So I'll take the Bengals in what should be the game of the day.
All right. Next, we have the Chargers at the Raiders. I like the Chargers, I guess. I mean, this is I'm really, when I'm looking at this, I don't have, the Raiders can play really good at times and then look awful. Chargers, same thing. I mean, I think the Chargers are a little bit better team right now, although I actually like Josh McDaniels as a coach better than Brandon Staley. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I almost feel like if the roles were reversed, I think the Chargers would be in a lot better situation. Because, to be honest with you, I think I don't have a feel for what Josh McDaniels is as a coach right now, because I can't judge him solely on this year, because I think he's matured. Certainly, I think he's handling himself as a professional a lot better. I don't want to fully judge him on this year with the Raiders, because there's a lot of cleaning up to do with this team. And I do think some of the personnel moves, i.e. Chandler Jones, have really just not worked out. And I that's certainly a problem. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But Sunday, I don't think that they're going to win even at home. I think the Chargers are going to get the best of them. And I'm just waiting for that big game from Justin Herbert. His average depth of target or pass is only like 6 yards over the last couple months. Yeah, that's and again that could be a lack of the right play calling and not putting him in a position to succeed against a pretty poor Raiders defense. I think he can do that. So give me the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen have been in and out of the lineup, really more out of the lineup the last month and a half. Rashawn Slater, their all-pro left tackle, has been out. So a lot has fallen on Justin Herbert, and he just doesn't look like the same quarterback this year. But they found ways to win some games. If this game looks like an overtime matchup, doesn't it? I mean, it's what always happens when the Chargers play the Raiders. The games are kind of wild. Someone will tie it up late. We'll go to overtime and see what the heck happens. The Raiders have won back-to-back overtime games the last 2 weeks, which they were 4-0 in overtime last year. It's like if they get to overtime, they find ways to win. I'll take the Chargers, though. I'm just going to go with the better quarterback, and I think he's ready to have a breakout type game, 300-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, and that should get it done. All
right, next we have Indianapolis at Dallas. I would love to see Dallas lose this game just because, it's Dallas and it's always fun to see them lose. But, the Colts, I just don't see how the Colts pull this one off. So give me Dallas on this one.
Yeah, Dallas's pass rush should eat up Indianapolis's offensive line, and Matt Ryan's going to be running for his life. So, yeah, Dallas, which is playing really good football right now. I don't think they're going to take any chances. They'll win this one comfortably.
All right, and Monday Night Football, just in case I'm unwell, we can't do Monday's show. New Orleans at Tampa Bay. I gotta believe Tampa can win this game, but I don't know. They're at home. It's against New Orleans. I know they've struggled. They beat them earlier this season, but as we talked earlier in the week, it's harder and hard for me to find faith in them each and every week. But I am going to go with it. I'm going to say Tampa at home.
Yeah, I like Tampa in this game. I mean, if Atlanta loses, Tampa wins, they really take hold of the division, which sounds strange. The way they've played, but they're the best team in that division. They'll get it done, and I think they'll find a way to win at home on Monday night.
All right, and that's gonna do it for us here today and for the weekend. So be sure to tune in on Monday, hopefully, or Tuesday when we are back, and of course tune in Sunday when we have our Full Press NFL Sunday show, and of course our Full Press Fantasy Live show. So thank you, everyone, and we will talk to you later.